Hey guys, OGalbina here, and today we are going to be discussing all of the buffs, moveset additions, new moves, all that fun stuff that was introduced in this most recent Teal Mask DLC. We're going to go over how it makes these Pokemon better, how I think it'll affect their viability in Draft League in particular, and, you know, my thoughts, what I'm most excited to see and what I'm most excited to use. So if you guys do enjoy today's video, be sure to drop a like on it, as well as subscribe to our channel. We're on our way to 3,000 subs, and if every single person who watches this today subscribes, we'll get there today, and that'd be awesome. It's my end of the year goal, so I'd really appreciate it if you help me out. And yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into it. I think I would be remiss to not mention this Pokemon right here, and I did forget a move in Big Empoleon. Empoleon coming back, and there was one downside to it, right? I did lose Scald. A lot of water types got Scald back, and we'll talk about a ton of them as we go through. But Empoleon lost Scald, and I was like, damn, Empo without Scald is pretty mid. However, they decided to say, you know what? We're gonna take that buff, or you know, the Scald away and nerf you. We're gonna buff you tenfold. We're gonna give you knockoff back, which is great. Then we're gonna change your hidden ability from Defiant to Competitive. If you guys don't know, Empoleon used to have Defiant, which would mean when its stats were dropped, if it was running this ability, it would get a +2 attack. Now it gets Competitive, which is much better on its much more usable special attack stat, and its much more commonly used special attack stat. On top of that, it receives Momentum and Flip Turn, and receives Roost as well. So now Empoleon, the Water Steel type, has reliable recovery. This thing is going to be a monster. This thing is terrifying. Knockoff is great for moving items, which it did get back, which is obviously really, really good. And this thing's going to serve as like a perfect pivot, whether it be like with Surf, and then last move like Ice Beam or Flash Cannon, or even rocking out with something like Knockoff. There's so many options for this thing. It becomes so unbelievably obnoxious. It's a very reliable stealth rocker as well. It did keep Stealth Rock, which is really cool. This thing is going to be really, really scary. It's also a rocker that is always going to punish Defog's attempts in its face. It became one of the best rockers in this metagame. So I think that the Empoleon Glow Up is like immense. This is going to become one of the best bulky waters in the format, due to its reliable recovery, momentum grabbing aspect, and Roost. Next up is Goodra. Goodra saw a big come up, and I really like the fact that it got these moves, right? Scald, Toxic, and Knockoff really helps the bulky, annoying, obnoxious playstyle that Goodra has. I love Knockoff for it. I think a lot of people aren't talking about that enough. This thing being able to remove items is amazing. When that bulky pivot wants to come in and kind of just sit in front of Goodra, at least you can remove that thing's item and immediately gain a ton of initiative back. Toxic is great in a Pokemon as bulky and annoying as this. You don't have to run AV every week. And Scald's really cool as a water coverage move, which typically you did have things like, you know, Surf and Hydro Pump, but now Scald can spread burns on top, and really that's honestly more worth it in a lot of instances, opposed to the power increase of Surf. So this thing getting Scald and Toxic to spread more passive chip, and Knockoff to get rid of items is unbelievable for it, and I think it's really important that this thing got buffed because it's by far the weakest pseudo-legendary. Now I know you can yell at me in the comments, but by far the weakest pseudo-legendary, so it's really cool to see that this thing is, you know, getting better, and Game Freak is paying attention to it because it's been pretty mediocre up to this point. Next up, we have my GOAT, to Dunsparce. Honestly, probably my favorite Pokemon introduced this gen, just because how much I've been using it in the draft format and how much I've been enjoying it. They give this thing one really important move. They gave it multiple moves like Scale Shot and a bunch of shit, but the most important one that they gave it is they gave my buddy Toxic right here. And again, giving these bulky, annoying Pokemon access to Toxic makes it infinitely better. I know a lot of people are like, I wish they only kept it to poison types, blah, blah, blah. It's still very limited in distribution, but I also think that it's important to have, you know, more bulky playstyles get buffed so that they're more viable. I've talked about it a million times. Offense is just so overbearing, especially in the Draft League format right now. So the fact that a lot of these Pokemon are getting access to their bulky, obnoxious tools, spreading Scald burns, toxicking things, knocking off items, it really is going to make this metagame more enjoyable. I'm willing to bet it's going to make it more enjoyable for the average person. For me especially, I'm very excited to, you know, be able to use some fatter playstyles and some bulkier Pokemon, more, you know, defensive playstyles and game plans as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, we've talked about 3 defensive Pokemon, or 3 mostly defensive Pokemon that still, you know, hit decently hard when they need to, but we have not talked about an offensive Pokemon, and this one is definitely a big one. Same moves as Empoleon, except for Roost, we're swapping out Scald with a Flip Turn and Knockoff on Walking Wake, and I think these buffs are incredible for it. Scald is probably the least or so, just because you're not typically going to be running Scald. I think if you're not running a Hydro Steam type move in the Sun, one, you probably shouldn't draft this thing unless you have Sun, but two, if you're not running a Hydro Steam type move in the Sun, you're probably running Hydro Pump or Surf, doing as much damage as humanly possible. I don't think Scald is typically going to be the move, but it is nice to get burns and things like that, and I have seen like defensive Rest Talk Wakes just because the defensive typing is so good, and it's got good natural bulk, so really it's not the worst thing in the world. But I think the big ones are Flip Turn and Knockoff. And if I'm playing into that, Galarian Slow King or just regular Slow King matchup, or if I'm playing into some bulky water that can take on my hits, I can either knock off its item, its AV, its leftovers, its boots, and then get out of there, or I can Flip Turn on the switch and get into my breaker that appreciates this. I think that really makes Wake more dynamic and easier to play with. For example, back in BBR last season, when John had Walking Wake in the regular season, I didn't have great counterplay to it. My only check was AV Aloe to specs. However, if we were playing in that game and he knocks off my AV, Wake gets one every time, and it might get multiple. It genuinely might get multiple. It is unbelievably hard for me to deal with at that point. So I think that this thing getting knockoff in order to kind of like check its own checks or like whittle them down and, get rid of the item that they're probably using to check Wake is very, very valuable and really, really cool to see. So I think that's awesome for it. Same thing with our next Pokemon here, right? We have Quackball getting Knockoff and Flip Turn. Knockoff is a good offensive coverage move for a physical, water fighting Pokemon. Urshifu doesn't get it, and Urshifu got it, it'd be broken. But, Quackball was able to get it here, which is really, really good for it. On top of that, it gains Flip Turn. Flip Turn isn't as big of a deal for Quackball. Not that it isn't good on it, but because of the fact that it already has U-Turn, so it wasn't like a needed coverage move. Quackball needed to get momentum. And honestly, in a lot of instances, U-Turn might be better because if a water resist is coming in on Quackball, you don't necessarily want to hit it with a water move. Plus, there are like water absorb mons and things like that, Storm Drain mons that, are immune to water, whereas Bug doesn't have any immunities, and Bug hits Grass Type super effectively. Hits a lot of things that water hits not very effective, neutral. Which I think is a really big, plus side of U-Turn. Like if I'm bringing Choice Band into a Slow King matchup, it might resist my dual stabs, but if I U-Turn out, I'm doing like 60% with the Choice Band set or something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, we've talked about some knockoff Pokemon already, right? We've talked about Empo, Goodra, Wake, Quackball, all these Pokemon, I got it, but this is where I really want to open up that knockoff portion of the video. First, we're going to talk about some Pokemon. Sorry, my leg's itching me a little bit. I got eaten alive after my baseball game yesterday. First, we're going to talk about some Pokemon that didn't have it before that got access to it now, and then the Pokemon that got access to it again after not having it in the past, for the past, year or so since we've been playing Scarlet and Violet. So we're going to start off with a Pokemon that I just never expected this to happen. Galarian Zapdos got access to Knockoff, which is an incredible coverage move to this thing. I mean, Fighting Flying is already so good offensively. Really, the only thing that might check you is like a Ghost, and now you lost Throat Chop this gen, so we lost our Dark coverage, and, it made some of those Ghosts and, bulky Psychics and things like that really obnoxious to check. Now we have Knockoff to not only do a ton of damage to them, but also, again, get rid of their item, which is huge for a Pokemon like this. Knocking off Rocky Helmets on the switch and then being able to U-Turn or Close Combat or Brave Bird for free the rest of the game is very, very nice for a Pokemon like this. I love Zapdos, Galar, and I think it getting Knockoff makes it infinitely better, like ridiculously good. Next up, we have Lokix. Getting Knockoff is really just kind of a nice quality of life thing. It's a much better move than something like Throat Chop, I think is what you get, right? You don't get Crunch. I think you get Throat Chop as a regular move, so Knockoff is stronger. It has more utility. I don't think this pushes Lokix over the top or makes it infinitely better, but it definitely makes it better, so I figured it was obviously worth mentioning here. And we have Zarude. Zarude with Knockoff is another huge one, man. I'm so excited. I love that this thing got Swords Dance this generation. It made it a much more potent breaker. Swords Dance and Trailblaze has been awesome additions to it, but it was kind of missing that, Dark Stab. It has Crunch, and it had Darkest Lariat in the past. I think that's just not a move on it anymore. I don't really know how powerful it is, but Knockoff is going to be initially stronger. I think especially on, like, Choice Scarf and Choice Band sets. I think on Assault Vest sets, you're going to see a lot of knockoff Zarud's. Now, there might be matchups where you want to still go Crunch on like Sword Dance variants because the damage is more consistent. Knockoff only being boosted when your opponent is still holding an item. But regardless, I do think that knockoff Zarud is a pretty big buff for it. It makes it all the better. I already love this thing this generation, so I'm excited to see that it got this, move right here. It's probably the best physical dark stab in the game. And for another cool mon, this thing getting knockoff is pretty awesome, being the fact that it is a solid Scarfer, solid band mon. Forces a lot of very specific switch-ins, and if your team appreciates those Pokemon getting knocked off, and Fernip can now fill that role, which is awesome. I'm really excited to see this thing in SV draft in general, but I think knockoff for this thing is really, really incredible. Teal got knockoff. This one's crazy. I was flabbergasted when I saw this. This Pokemon has been existing in the game since Generation 2. Knockoff has been a move since Generation 3. Granted, it was weak knockoff back then until, I think, Gen 6. But regardless, it was either 5 or 6. But regardless, Teal is a dark type that has not had access to knockoff for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 generations. It's been 8 generations since Pokemon has existed, and it has not had knockoff. And they decided, you know what? We saw our boy drop to RU. We saw our boy fall out of OU usage for the first time ever. Let's give him a little something. Give him a little bone. And Teal got that, man. I think knockoff Teal is incredible. Again, the offensive and defensive aspects of this. Choice Band knockoff is stronger than Choice Band Crunch, so it does a ton of damage. But it also gets rid of items. Those easy switches to Teal, maybe you're switching your bulky fairy, your bulky water, whatever switches into Teal now has to deal with being itemless. And that is so huge. So, big fan of that. And again, another one I'm super jacked about is Roaring Moon got knockoff. Again, strong Dark Stab. Really, really strong Dark Stab on Roaring Moon. Really, really cool one here. I think it makes non-Terra Moon better. As much as I love Moon, I've been talking about it lately, I think that Terra Moon, or non-Terra Moon, is a very fraudulent Pokemon. But a lot of leagues end up kind of banning it, right? And they end up, banning Terra off it, can't use Terra anymore, things like that. Which is a bit unfortunate. But now it has that stab knockoff to throw off, get rid of items, pivot around. Choice Band sets got all the better in my opinion. And you're not really like locked into those booster DD sets anymore. I think this is awesome. Another Pokemon that really appreciates this, Palmot, again, just deals with one of the fighting immunities that might want to come out into it. Say you're playing against like a Palossand or something like that. It's really nice to be able to knock off, then you have knockoff plus Ice Punch and you do a ton of damage and you might do a KO next time, which is really cool. But very niche, specific argument. Then we have the Lake Guardians, Mesprit, Uxie, and Azelf. They all kind of use it for different reasons. These two more defensively as disruptors, getting rid of items, being nuisances, getting up their rocks, things like that. Whereas Azelf might use it more offensively with that base 125 attack stat. So all three of these things love knockoff in their arsenal. It's really cool that they finally got them back because Uxie in particular I felt was really struggling without knockoff. So I think getting that is great. Azu, another knockoff one that, I just realized I'm in the, okay. With Mesprit, Uxie, and Azelf, that's when we're at the point where it's mons that used to have knockoff, but didn't have them, now have them again. Azu is another one. Again, very specific switches to this Pokemon. If you're rocking out the Choice Band Azu and AV Azu, now I don't have to worry about getting wheeled down by an Assault Vest switching in because I can knock it off myself. I can do the damn job myself, get rid of the item, and go from there. Love me some Azu in this meta in particular. I think it's very anti-meta. It checks a lot of the top mons. Now, the only new top mon introduced were probably like Monkey Dory and Ogerpon, and it doesn't really check those until they Terra into either a water either a fire or a rock type. But even then you kind of get blown up offensive by them, so it doesn't check those very good. But really everything else in the metagame, Azu is going to be a phenomenal check too, and getting knockoff back is huge for that. Then Eel, AV sets really appreciate this, pretty self-explanatory. Heracross, another offensive fighting, getting access to knockoff once again. Now again, think of the combination of Guts, Close Combat, Facade, knockoff. It doesn't exist. It literally does not exist. Have fun finding a switch in. Torrently got it back. This is the GOAT, baby. This is my boy. He is officially a top 5 Pokemon draft league again. This thing, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but losing Knock was such a big blow to its more defensive playstyle. That heavy-duty boot set where you run Hurricane, Knockoff, Taunt, U-Turn. That's it. Stallbreaker, Demon Torn. He knocks off items. You might have your leftovers, your boots now, but you're not going to have them in a second. And then throughout the game, if that's your pivot and you have to switch in, and even if you resist Hurricane, you only take 20 from it, then you take Rocks, Hurricane, Rocks, Hurricane, Rocks. Oh, I'm dead. You know, so this thing getting back knockoff is such a huge thing for it. Thundy also really appreciated getting it back. It wasn't like game breaking for it, but it was definitely really, really nice. Then we also have Scizor. Scizor loves being able to knock off things. Now we don't have to run Thief Scizor to hit Goldango as well, which is a pretty valuable thing. And then lastly, of course, I know everybody is happy about this. There's not a single person who saw this Pokemon get nerfed into the ground like it did and didn't feel bad for it. We found got knockoff back, baby. Now, it didn't get Triple Axle. Triple Axle's still not in the game. However, this thing getting knockoff back is so huge. Oh my goodness. Again, strong Dark Stab. It had Night Slash before. Now this Pokemon, again, not only has a strong move, but forces its own progress, gets rid of your leftovers, your boots, your helmet, whatever it might be, and now you don't switch in next time. The move knockoff being redistributed saved this meta, in my opinion. It 100% saved this meta. Now, we can move on past knockoff. I talked about 8 million Pokemon that got knockoff. We can move past knockoff. We're gonna go ahead and talk about just, you know, some random assortments of movies. I'll let you know when we get into another, like, little theme run. But we have Iron Valiant here with Vacuum Wave. I think this is great for this Pokemon, especially if you're facing a Scarfer that's faster than you with your Cork Drive. Or just a Scarfer in general. If I'm boosting my special attack with the Calm Mind or a Booster Energy, now I can pick you off with priority. Sorry. Now I can pick you off with priority and not have to worry about taking a hit or saving my booster or being booster every single week. So I like that aspect of Valiant. I think Vacuum Wave is going to be really cool. It's also really cool in Specs sets because Specs is really strong. Then we have Reverum with high horsepower. I've been using this thing in a low-tier draft league tournament that Smogon's been running, and there will be a movie up of that because this Pokemon is absolutely insane as a low-tier Terramon. It was really, really good, and typically one of the reasons you want to Terra is because you could Terra Ground it and use Terra Blast to break through, you know, Poison and Steel Resist, which are things like ground types and, you know, stuff like that. And just your common checks were weak to ground. So it was really nice to be able to do so. Now you can still run Terra Ground, but now you run the stronger high horsepower. You can also rock out with different Terra types more often. Terra Waters, Terra Steels, things like that. And then still have the high horsepower coverage. This thing's really strong, and I'm just glad they gave the freaking car Pokemon high horsepower. It didn't make any other sense otherwise. But yeah, that being said, take a quick break. We're going to jump into the next part of the list. Bringing you a quick little ad break to remind you that we do have merch. Yes, we have merch. We have hoodies, stickers, and coffee mugs. Not the most merch in the world, but we definitely have it. If you guys want to go check it out, it should be linked in our description as well as on the channel in the store tab. It really helps me out a ton if you want to go check it out and get one of these. We have 2 upcoming draft leagues, the BBR tournament and the GBU, and if you guys want to support your Carolina Roaring Moon during that process, I'd really appreciate it. Get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a coffee mug, and show it off, you know, show your support. I'd really appreciate it a ton. And yeah, let's get back to the video. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're back from our short intermission, and we're going to start off with my favorite segment of today's video in The Game is Saved because Scald has returned. We're going to be going over all of the Pokemon that I haven't already mentioned that got Scald back. So things like Wake, I think I already mentioned, got Scald. Things like Goodra. But there's a ton of other things. Not every water got access to Scald again. Like, Toxapex didn't get Scald. Pelipper didn't get Scald. Rest in Piss. Or Dondozo, which John thought was going to make it absolutely broken. But a ton of different things got Scald. Dragalge got Scald again. Again, more passive damage that it's spreading, which is going to be awesome. It did also get access to Flip Turn, which I forgot to put in here. Again, momentum, passive damage, makes his Pokemon better. Slowbro and Slowking got it back. Slowking was already doing okay, right? He still has Chilly Reception as momentum, and still had that niche, right? Or he could set up Hail, get momentum, could Trick Room Chilly Reception too, ton of different things like that. But it really did miss Scald, and Slowbro especially missed Scald. This Pokemon felt so much more passive without the threat of Scald burning something, and now it has access to it, and I think this makes Slowbro much more draftable. I'm a big Slowbro stan. I drafted Slowbro and Slowking all the time in Generation 8, but I really have kind of avoided Slowbro in Gen 9 because I feel like it's not very good without that burn chance, and now it has it, and oh baby, is that a good thing. I am so happy that this thing ended up getting access to Scald. Another Pokemon that was legitimately saved by the addition of Scald again. Vaporeon. This thing sucked prior to this gen, but now it got access to both Scald and Flip Turn, which is great for it. It can still run those Calm Mind sets, which is a nice buff for it. Now, Vaporeon went from being the worst it ever was, despite getting Calm Mind, to now being the best it ever was, because it has Calm Mind, Scald, Flip Turn, Ice, Beam. You can even run with, did it get Roar back? It got Roar back too, so now we can phase with Vaporeon again. Things are looking up for Vaporeon, bros. Submissive and Breedable going crazy right here. Then, our last Scald bomb we're going to talk about, and again, more things got Scald, but these are the main big ones. But we're also going to talk about this Pokemon in general, because it definitely had a bit of a come up here, and that is going to be Manaphy. Manaphy got access to Scald, because Scald is moving the game now, right? Manaphy was added, you can get it through Pokemon Home right now. But, on top of all of the other things that Manaphy has, Tail Glow, Ice Beam, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Calm Mind, Acid Armor, it can rest, it can be like Rain Dance, Hydration sets. Now, a lot of those sets are null and void. The reason being, Take Heart was added to the game. This is a move that was introduced in Legends Arceus, and they tweaked the move in this game because the combat system is different and things like that, to make it to where now Take Heart, what it does is it's a Calm Mind, special attack and special defense boost by 1, but it also cures your status. So, if you are poisoned or paralyzed or whatever, it basically takes the place of running Calm Mind, Hydration, like Rest, with Rain Dance, like Calm Mind, Scald, Rest, Rain Dance. Now you can just run Take Heart. That's it. So you can go ahead and, you know, get your Burn healed, your Para healed, your Poison healed, or if you're running a Rest Talk set, you're on Scald, Take Heart, Rest, Sleep Talk, and when you Sleep Heart, Talk, Take Heart, you're gonna wake up early potentially and get that +1/+1. So like, this makes this Pokemon infinitely better. I think this Pokemon is unbelievably broken with Terra. I do think that people are kind of freaking out a little bit too much about it, and I know like a lot of places are like contemplating Manaphy bans and things like that. I think that's a little too far. I think it's definitely a really solid strat and a really solid move addition. I don't know if it makes it objectively broken, but definitely makes it much, much better. That's for sure. Oh, I missed. We're gonna go Rillaboom next. My boy's back, the GOAT. He's here with Grassy Surge. I got access to Grassy Glide again. Now, Grassy Glide did take a nerf in base power down to 55, but that's okay because that is Grass type priority, which is boosted by the grassy terrain that you are automatically, not manually, set up with your Rillaboom. So this makes this thing infinitely better. I can finally Swords Dance and sweep through teams again, and also got access to high horsepower back, so now you don't have to run Stomping Tantrum in the grassy terrain in order to do decent damage to things, which it did get, yeah. Now you can run the base 95 power, high horsepower. Rillaboom is back. It is once again a top tier support Pokemon. Really great thing, Pokemon. It can still run those choice band sets too with Grassy Glide and Woodhammer, and like knock off, U-turn, high horsepower, superpower, things like that. This thing just became infinitely better. So it's great to see. I don't know. I love Rillaboom. Another one of my favorite Pokemon draft back in the day. But yeah. Next up we have Aloe, which did get access to Scald. I forgot to mention in the Scald section. Aloe got Scald, which is huge for it, and Flip Turn. Both of these moves are great for it because it makes it all the less passive. Now, I still don't like Aloe. I think it sucks. As someone who literally just used in BBR, I don't like it. It's very passive and exploitable, and it didn't get Toxic back here. But it did get access to Scald and Flip Turn. Both of these moves are not tauntable, which is one of Aloe's big weaknesses. Scald gets passive burns on things, so those physical attackers, they're either going to have to sub or run a Covert Cloak or a Lumberry to not, you know, get burned by you. But also Flip Turn. You'll be able to get out of there. If something wants to, you know, attack you, you can use this more as a regen pivot to get in and Flip Turn out. You had access to Baton Pass before, which a lot of leagues allowed, but again, that's tauntable. Flip Turn is not. So now we can use this thing to really, really use it as like a really solid pivot. And I think I would have liked it a lot more if I had Scald and Flip Turn on it. Would have been a little bit nicer, but not the end of the world, like I said. Now, we have Barraskewda. This thing getting Flip Turn makes all the difference for it on rain teams. Now it can come in, Flip Turn out when it doesn't kill something, and then come in later and Liquidation and nuke something. It did not get access to Wave Crash. It's like a pretty exclusive move. But this thing with Flip Turn and Liquidation with the Choice Band and the Rain, especially if you're allowed to Terra Water on the Barraskewda, could be absolutely disgusting. So, really fun stuff. Definitely really excited here for Big Barraskewda. Basket Legion, speaking of Rain Sweepers, got Flip Turn. Again, same exact reason as Barraskewda. It's going to be able to Flip Turn in and out. This thing is even a little bit... is it weaker? Yeah, it's a little bit weaker than Barraskewda, but it's a little bit bulkier, a little bit slower. Has more defensive utility. You might not run those like herder choice bands as much, so being able to attack, then flip turn could also be a really clutch aspect. Qwilfish, this makes it just an infinitely better pivot. Before, you typically use like Intim, Rocky Helmet, switch in, get up a Spike or T-Wave something, and then get out. But now you can grab momentum with it. You can pivot into the physical attacker, Intim, Rocky Helmet, then flip turn as they switch out into the Pokemon that's supposed to bully Qwilfish. So I think this is a really clutch aspect. And again, it's also a Pokemon that can take advantage of it in the rain. Thanks thing with Samurott. This thing on either Scarf sets is going to be really nice. I think in particular, like, Assault Vest sets, it's going to be great because now I can come in, I can click Ceaseless Edge on your defensive water that might want to come in, and maybe I don't 2-hit KO because I'm a bulkier Samurott, but now the next turn I can just flip turn out and gain momentum. I can prevent you from gaining momentum with a nice hard double, and I'm going to be able to whittle things down. And again, if there is something that's just barely out of range of your choice band or your choice Scarf Samurott, you need to position correctly, you can always call the switch and flip turn now, which is awesome. We don't have to double, and we always force progress with that, which is good. We're always forcing damage. Then, second to last, we have Scyther. This is a pretty small one, but I still think it's notable. It makes this thing draftable now, because now it has access to that really strong Technician boosted Flying Step into Wing Beat. Before, you were like, just needed to like Aerial Ace, I guess, which is pretty bad. But Dual Wing Beat is going to be 40 per hit, which means it goes up by Technician and then hits twice, which is great. And then Bug Bite is great for Swords Dance sets. Didn't have access to Bug Bite up to this point, this gen, which is actually really interesting. I was really surprised that it didn't. And then, debatably, the biggest one is going to be Big Garchomp here, getting back Scale Shot. If you guys didn't play Sword and Shield draft, Garchomp was considered probably a top 5 Pokemon, in the top 3 for some people, because of its access to Scale Shot. This thing with a Sword Dance and then Scale Shot Speed Boost was almost unguardable for a lot of teams. Between Earthquake and Scale Shot, you hit pretty much everything in the metagame, but then you have the random Fire Fang, Stone Edge, Crunch, whenever you need to hit the last Pokemon. So not only can it SD Scale Shot now it can run Rocks, it can run Spikes, it can run both, it can run like the Tank Chomp, Helmet, Dragon Tail set, you can run Special, you can run Scarf, you can run Band. This Pokemon became infinitely more versatile, if that makes sense, and it now can function as the Wincon, which it wasn't able to do up to this point this gen. So definitely a really good one. And yeah, that's basically going to be it. That's big it's Big Garchomp, and that's all the buffs that I really thought were super standout. Now if I'm missing one, go ahead and drop in the comments below. Let me know. I totally could have. There's a ton of different changes, and let me know what your favorite buffs were. What Pokemon do you want to try the most in draft this DLC, considering all of these buffs and things like that. And yeah, let me know if you guys would like to see like a biggest losers of the DLC tier list too, or video. I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you liked, drop a like. If you're new here, drop a sub. Big shout outs to all of our channel members right now. I have been forgetting, so I want to make sure that I'm remembering who all is a channel member. In the bag on tier, we have D-Double, Olivia Sama, Zeke, Goose, Matrix, Odds Are, Endless, It's Danny Mac, Aaron, Tiger, Fungal, and Kaz. In the Shelgon tier, we have Nate, and we have Thriller. And then in the Salamence tier, we have Bick, we have Fat Halpert, and we have Noah. Thank you guys all so much for your huge amount of support. I really do appreciate it a ton, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.